I would like to start by saying, quoting Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul says, "For the word of the cross is folly for those who are perishing, but to those who are being saved, it's the power of God." So the cross, the word of the cross, the symbol of the cross, anything that pertains to the cross, to those that have chosen the path of destruction by separating themselves from God, to them that entire thing is foolish. For the Christians who have seen and understood the salvation that was brought by Jesus Christ, the symbol of the cross is a symbol of power. So, this Sunday, historically, was the Sunday when all the catechumens that were preparing for their baptism, on this Sunday, they were anointed with the sign of the cross. It was the cut-off day, and they are no longer called catechumens, but they are called those that are preparing for holy baptism. So all the believers who were preparing for the holy baptism, after going through all the requirements, there was a process in the church. So after going through all the requirements of learning the things that they needed to learn and passing the accreditation, if you will, that they showed that they are ready, they have matured enough to be baptized. Today they were celebrated, and from this Sunday until the resurrection, 3 weeks after, they go through intense preparation for their baptism. And then they are baptized on the day of the resurrection. And just as an example of one of the things they were required is to memorize the creed. They had to recite the creed by heart. That was one of the requirements. So, this is the significance of the veneration of the cross that is being celebrated today as a celebration. Now, the cross as an understanding from a Christian perspective, it's a sign of joy. It's a sign of power. It's a sign of grace. It is a sign of healing. It is not a sign of weakness at all. Jesus Christ is the most courageous person ever walked the face of the earth. There is no more courageous person than Jesus Christ. He walked to the cross voluntarily. He even carried his cross. He carried the very same tool that was to be for his execution. So the cross, on one hand, symbolizes painful things. On the other hand, gives the healing, the medicine that these painful things cause us. Jesus faced the pain of the resurrection. Yes, it is true that the cross as a tool of execution is very, very painful. Probably it's the most painful thing that can be inflicted upon a person. And I think Jesus was hanging on the cross for 6 hours, trying just to breathe. Just to breathe. And when he died from suffocation. Because he has to push himself where he can open his lungs, take a breath of air, facing the pain of the nails. So it's very painful. But more than the physical pain, there was the pain of the rejection. Jesus was rejected by the very same people that he was beneficiary to. So a lot of the people that berated him, they benefited from his healings. St. John the Apostle talks about the rejection that Jesus suffered in a very tender way, but it's very meaningful way. It's very touching way. He says, he came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. He came to his own nation. The ancestry of him. He didn't come to a nation or strange people. And his own people rejected him. So he speaks of that in reference to his incarnation. Now, in reference to his divine person, he says, he was in the world, and the world was made by him, yet the world did not know him. Ask any mother or any father, any parents, if they see a child of theirs and that child does not recognize them, what kind of pain these parents would feel. Jesus suffered the pain of insult. He was rejected, and as a benefactor, and on the top of the rejection, he was insulted, physically insulted, emotionally insulted. Jesus suffered the pain of betrayal. Who was the person that told about his secret place? It was Judas, one of the 12. Who was the person that even denied knowing him? Peter, one of the leaders of the 12. Where were the apostles and the disciples when Jesus was being executed? Nowhere to be seen. It was his mother, John the Evangelist, and one more person. So he was deserted, he was denied by his own people, the very close people. So, if you feel the betrayal of friends, Jesus went through this. He felt the same betrayal. But the cross was a healing power. It was not a devastating power. It was a healing grace. When Jesus was buried, he was not buried by his apostles or his disciples or his friends. He was buried by a stranger. And this is very significant. So, from the few things I share with you, I think it becomes clear that the sign of the cross, or the process of the cross, is the highest point of sacrifice and giving It is giving to the point that there is no more point to give. It's the utmost, absolute giving. It's giving of everything. Jesus gave everything, did not keep not even a hair for himself. He gave it all. So this is where the power of the cross is. It's giving everything and giving that freely. And that is in regard to God. It's the most royalty to the true God. The royalty to the true God. So the cross for us sets up the bar. If we are going to give to God, how much we give. That's the bar. The cross also represents our loyalty to God and our rejections to the world. The world will try to entice us with things, with goodies, with fame, in order to give our loyalty to the world. Jesus gave his loyalty to the true God, showing us where our loyalty should be. Remember the temptations that Jesus went through in the wilderness. He was put on those temptations, so Satan was trying to gain his loyalty. Through food, through wealth, and through putting God to the test. And he chose. He rejected everything that the world has to offer. You know, in English there is a phrase, famous phrase, I think it comes from one of the movies. I'll make you an offer that you cannot refuse, right? The world makes that offer to us for our loyalty. Through Jesus Christ, we can refuse. And we choose to refuse. So there is no offer the world can give us that we cannot refuse. So when we are marked by the sign of the cross, and this is part of the baptism process, and when we do the Holy Unction in so many ways, and when we cross ourselves, when we are marked by the sign of the cross, we are marked as belonging to Jesus Christ. And when we are marked with that, we declare our loyalty to Jesus Christ, as well as the understanding of those concepts that I have shared with you. So in a sense, when we make the sign of the cross, we set ourselves as enemies of the world of darkness. And it means we are dedicated to the truth. We are dedicated to the light. The Bible says, "Blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity, and whose spirit there is no deceit." No iniquities, and in his spirit there is no deceit. We dedicate ourselves to the full truth. The cross also is a sign of reconciliation with God. So, the vertical element of the cross is the union of man and God. Is ascending to heaven and God descending from heaven. And the horizontal element of the cross is the union with all people. So the cross unites people among themselves and with God. So Jesus is the only factor in the universe. There is no other factor in the universe. There is no other person in the universe that can unite people among themselves with God. Read history and you'll see that this is true. Jesus is the only person. And what that means, there is no real service to God without serving other people, and without healing other people, and without being united with other people. So the cross is the rejection of the materialistic world, what it has to offer, and the rejection of our ego. There is something from Apostle Paul that is very strong. He put it in very strong language. He says, the people who reject the cross, their God is their belly. And they glory in their shame. So whatever is shameful they did, they boast about that, it's their glory. Their minds set on earthly things. So, really, don't envy the people that you see, they have a lot of materialistic stuff, and they are able to do things, and you think that they are blessed. They're not blessed, and they're not happy. They're very miserable. So as I've explained to you, the cross is not about pain. Many times we emphasize that, but that's not correct. The cross is about healing, about the glorious defeat of death, because resurrection was granted back to man through the cross. When Jesus was on the cross, what did he say? Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. He prayed for the people that persecuted him and put him to death. There's no more profound words than these words. And there's no more healing words than these words. So, when harm is done to us through the power of the cross, grace can come through us to heal the harm that is done.